Good afternoon, Mike. My name is Reginald Benes.
And I'm Kyle Tappin.
I'm Krista Spitaleri.
Today we're going to be talking to you about social media and smartphones and the effect that they have on modern society today. The first thing that we're going to cover is the medical standpoint of things and how that affects people psychologically and physically. We're going to be moving on to apps and what makes apps so addictive and keeps people hooked. Then we're going to talk about how and why businesses decide to make these apps addictive. And we're going to go on to how families suffer from having smartphones all over the place, and it's just a detriment between everybody. A recent study shows that the average smartphone user's attention span has gone from 12 seconds to 8 seconds. Coincidentally, people with ADD also have an 8-second attention span. That is a 33% decrease in an attention span, and that creates a massive detriment to the medical field when it comes to doctors that need to do research on people that really have ADD in comparison to people that have it self-brought because they're on their smartphones all the time. To talk to you more about the medical standpoint of things, I'm going to introduce Carissa back to the floor.
Thank you, Reg, and hello again, Mike. I'm Krissa, and my first research question is, what are the medical effects of smartphone overusage? So the first effect that I found was back problems. Now, a statistic showed me that 45% of young adults aged 16 to 24 experience more back pain than usual because they're constantly hunched over all day on their phones, checking their apps and social media, not even worrying about what's going on in the real world, and that can cause a medical problem. The next effect that I found was anxiety and depression. Now, as you know, being on your phone all day can definitely lead to this because you're constantly worried about your interactions and updates, and if someone's not answering you fast enough, you get worried. In reality, they're just probably busy, not on their phones. Now, when you post a picture and say you don't get enough likes as you would have, you think that it's a problem, but it's not. It's just because that's how we were born to think. If you don't have enough followers, you don't think you're popular enough and you get worried, but we shouldn't care about that nowadays. The last effect that I researched was stress, and stress can definitely come out of being on your phone all day because you're supposed to be available 24/7 with texts, calls, emails from your coworkers, your boss, your friends, and this can lead to us not spending enough time with our family at night because after 6 p.m. is over and the workday is done, you're still reading and responding to these emails, and it's causing rising stress levels. So the next research question was, why are apps addicting? So I went over some of the popular social media apps, and the first one that I looked at was Instagram. So Instagram uses push notifications, and they send you updates on when someone likes your picture, your photo, when they're going live, when they're posting a story, and this constantly makes you check Instagram and go on your phone because you're getting these notifications. So that lures you in and keeps you addictive. Twitter now, when you refresh the page, they use a spinning wheel, and that reminds us of slot machines at the casino because they look very similar, which that is already addictive as well, so it makes Twitter even more addictive and lures you in. The last thing that I'm going to go over is Snapchat. So Snapchat uses snap streaks, and you have to go on every day and send a Snapchat, or else you lose that streak and feel like you're going to lose the interaction with this person, but it shouldn't matter. Now, Kyle is going to go over some more things about addicting apps.
Thank you, Carissa, and hello, Michael. I'm Kyle Tappin. Today I'm going to address why app creators make their software so addictive. The main reason is they want to make money. A business's main goal is to make money. The apps are made to be addictive, which makes us want it more, therefore spending more, giving them more money. Sean Parker, the ex-VP, stated, "You're exploiting a vulnerability in human psychology. The inventors understood this consciously, and we did it anyways." This clearly shows that they knew the impact on people. And they still did it to make money. Furthermore, I'm going to address the negative impacts on family relationship. First, the interference between families of the internet has created the interference between families of on the internet has went from 11 to 28%, almost tripling in the first 5 years of the smartphone era. Also, when a mother breastfeeds to her child, she's too busy on her smartphone. Therefore, there's no eye contact, so the bond isn't there. Now, I'm gonna bring Reg right here up to the front, and he's gonna give our opinion on the article.
Thank you, Kyle. Fantastic job. So we've covered a bunch of different things today. Starting with the medical, obviously this is a huge problem in today's society. We know that apps are addictive. We know why they do it, and we know how that affects families in North America, all around the world. This is a massive problem, but these are all negative aspects, and this is all research that we've done that has been nothing but negative. If we don't look at the positive side of having smartphones in this world, then we can never find that middle ground. We'll never be able to try and make a compromise. So the way that we look at it, and in our opinion, we think that smartphones can be used as good measure, especially in schools, and especially media can be great, but obviously it's creating distractions. So the way that our current system of education works is we show up to school and we run things with the teacher at the front, and you will speak to us and we'll try to listen. But now that smartphones are in our lives, we don't really need to, or we feel that we don't need to. Because when you talk to us and you try to teach us material, these are all things that we can say, I don't need to listen, I can go home, I can do it on my own. Now that is a huge problem for teachers. Teachers are feeling less engaged with the students. Students aren't feeling that their teachers are teaching them anything, and it's just creating an extremely negative bond between a teacher and a student. The way that we can get around this, I think, is if we try to make smartphone use in schools more positive. So, for instance, let's say that you're at the front of the class and you're teaching, and you're about to tell us something that you know can be found online. You can ask the students, get in pairs, get in groups, research this, and do it for marks. So you have to put a stake on the line so that people don't just get together, they're not browsing social media, you have to make it worth something. In-class assignments, research on their smartphones, it can be a huge benefit, and I think it should be at a college and university level, and maybe even in high school. In accordance with grade school, I don't think that smartphones should even be allowed or used whatsoever, for the simple fact that they're too young to understand how to really research on a phone. All they know is the games, they know the media side of things, they don't know how to actively use their brains and go in and use that as a positive resource. Unfortunately, we allow smartphones to take over such a huge part of our lives, especially at home with your spouse. It's the first thing that you look at in the morning, and it is the last thing you put down before you go to bed. This causes issues in all aspects of a family. Children are less connected with their parents. Parents are less connected with their children, and the sexual relationship between spouses is diminished. Population rates and birth rates are dropping in Canada and around the US, probably because of this. Like, we have this problem that is engaged in our lives that we have to deal with, all because we don't know how to limit ourselves. So our reconciliation, or our recognition of how to fix this problem would be to simply set guidelines in a household and especially educate the next generation of kids that are born into this world unlike any other. Like, when I was born, there were no smartphones, there was no iPad, iPhone. I had to go out, we went and played at the park, things like that, and it made sense, right? Life was sociable, and we know how to talk to each other. That is going to be a huge problem in the future facing the next generation. They're going to struggle incredibly with social skills, and they're not going to know how to be social together, and they're not going to know what to do or how to interact with each other, and it's just such a negative impact. So I hope you learned something today from our presentation. Thank you so much for listening.